Hi, and welcome to Ensemble and Stuff's panel on size inclusivity. We have Sarah-Jane, plus size designer and advocate. We have Keaney, founder of NUKU and social activist. We have Karina, model and writer, and we have Jess, influencer and advocate. My name is Tanya Barlow, and I am a fat babe and multidisciplinary artist. Thank you for joining us today. So how do we feel about the state of size inclusivity right this moment? As a designer, Sarah-Jane, would love to hear your thoughts.
Okay, as a designer, I'm part of trying to pave the way. I've been a plus size designer for 15 years now. So I've done catwalks. I now run a fat yoga class. Like, I definitely meet these women and see these women and try to make clothes that actually fit their bodies rather than make them fit into fashion, which is a huge part of what I do with Lost and Led Astray. I think it's changed a lot. It's come a long way. There's always room for improvement. I don't know how long you want me to ramble on here, but I also think inclusivity is actually more than just about size. I think it's actually a bigger conversation that needs to be about decolonization, and there's so much more to it than just what clothes we fit and don't fit. There's diet culture, how we're represented and what is seen as beautiful, and there's just so many layers to size inclusivity that I actually think it's more about let's learn our history, let's have more discussions, let's be more open, let's just let everyone exist, and let's stop the judgment is really my big thing. Oh yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Sarah-Jane. All right, Keaney, have you got something to weigh in here on what it means to you? How do you feel it's changed, or where it can go, or where it can improve?
Well, I guess there are a lot more options now for clothing that is, for want of a better word, plus size. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's great clothing or it's ethical clothing or it's clothing that's made by people that I want to wear. And so when I think about the options that I had when I was younger, possibly the warehouse had a few lines, or like you get sort of your standard stuff. Now that I'm at the age I'm at, doing some of the things I'm doing, public speaking and that sort of stuff, I am really all about championing Indigenous women, and I really want to wear clothing that is made by Indigenous wāhine. And earlier last year, I attended the Kāhui Collective wānanga that Kitty Nathan facilitates with for Māori designers, and I laid a wero down and I said, I love the clothing that you all make, but none of you make clothing for me and make clothing that I can wear. And I would love to stand on stage and say, I'm rocking this particular person or that particular person. And so one of those designers heard the call. Actually, a couple did. And it's been really lovely to be able to wear Kitty Nathan and to be able to wear, just clothing and kākahu that has been made by wāhine, but that's still not enough. And when I think of what we have available to us across the mainstream, a lot of it is really unethical clothing coming from websites that treat their workers really poorly and being made with material that is absolutely horrendous. And so while we're kind of got a lot of options, they're not great options. And I totally agree. There are layers to this kōrero around size inclusivity, there are layers when we think about colonization, when we think about the way our bodies have been portrayed over generations, when we think about the fact that everything we do today comes from a Western patriarchal lens, and that has so much influence on who we are and how we are in the world and how people see us in the world. So I think it's a very big question with a very big, long-winded answer, but it's definitely something that needs more thoughtful kōrero around, and not just paying lip service to, because that's what we're finding is this lip service of, okay, we'll have these names or these labels or these, we'll make one garment that'll fit you, whatever it is. There's so much more to the conversation that needs to be had, and needs to be had regularly. It needs to stop being made a topic of conversation in the sense that we only talk about it maybe once a year in a space like Fashion Week, when we should be talking about it all the time.
Fully agree with you. I mean, we only get a small sliver today, but I think we've got a good starting point. How about you, Karina?
In terms of like what size inclusivity means to me personally, I feel like it's the idea that anyone can find clothes that are comfortable and affordable and functional, but also that they feel like allow them to express who they are and their creativity, because I feel like that's really what fashion, if it's not what fashion is about, it's maybe what fashion should be about. And I agree with Keaney. I feel like, you know, we've come far from when I was a teenager in the early mid noughties. You know, the progress has been made since then, but there's a lot further to go. And I feel like the nature of the conversation needs to change for any meaningful progress to be made. But, you know, having said that, like, this is something I've only started thinking about a lot more in recent years when I've started modeling, because before that, this just wasn't really something that was in my periphery at all. And now obviously it's like my job. So it has been really interesting from that perspective, seeing, you know, the kind of work, for example, that's available to quote unquote curve or mid-size or plus size models, which, you know, again, that shouldn't be a label that we need to use to differentiate. But the reality is, with the industry the way it is currently, when straight size models are the norm, realistically, you need to be able to differentiate. So the idea, I feel like, is less that we need to find different words to use, and more that we need to move away from a status quo in which there is a norm, and therefore you need to differentiate whoever is outside of the norm. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you, Karina. Okay, Jess, you're up. What does it mean to you? How do you think we are? Where do you think you are?
I'm really worried that inclusivity has become such a buzzword that it's actually lost its meaning. Like, I agree with you completely, Sarah-Jane, that it's all about decolonization. Like, I think a lot of when we talk about inclusivity in fashion, there is a lot of lip service. There is a lot of like box tech exercise, like even all the inclusive like ranges they have. It, like what you said, Keaney, it's like, it's one look, it's one like piece of clothing. And it's also like this, you know, this beauty standards is still very much focused on like Eurocentric beauty. Like, yes, like you'll see a bigger model, like a size 20, but then, you know, their features are very European. It's still just one look. So there is that conversation that needs to be had around inclusivity. Like, I don't want inclusivity to just be like, oh yeah, okay, we feel like we have to be inclusive. Like when I enter these spaces, I don't want to feel like I'm just there because I'm like Asian and fat, and like, I want to be there because I'm good at what I do, because I'm fucking fashionable. Sorry, am I allowed to swear? Because I'm like fashionable, because I belong in this space, not because of that kind of like inclusivity exercise, which I feel like that's kind of where it's hitting now after 2020, after, when people started waking up and, starting to pay attention to who they follow on Instagram, starting to, oh, wow, we're not reading books from like non-white authors, like when the whole world woke up and started talking about how, yes, like, let's be inclusive, let's do better, like we're muted and listening, here's a black square. Like there's a lot of that real performativeness around this inclusivity in fashion that I'm worried that we're uploading it as yes, we're being inclusive, especially like people who have never seen inclusivity in this space. It looks inclusive because when you're used to a world that's just straight size, one type of look, when you put one brown girl in, one fat girl in, it's like, yay, we're so inclusive, go us. And I worry that that's becoming the norm, that we're uploading bare minimum when there is so much work to do. And yes, progress has happened. And I acknowledge that we're in a pandemic. Like it's hard to scale, it's hard to, grow a business. And I acknowledge all of those things. But at the same time, it's like, when are we going to have that chat? How are we going to take those baby steps together? Are we even wanting to? Sorry, I rambled.
That was amazing. And I agree with everything you said. Absolutely. So what I put to you guys, what I put to you all is, what does that future look like? How do we stop inclusivity as being token, as being like, add a brown girl, add a fat girl, tick, we're done. What does it look like to change things? This is open. Speak up if you got it.
I guess one of the things is building relationships with people that you don't normally have in your circle. Like that is so important, because the more different types of people you meet and build relationships with, the more different types of people you then become exposed to. And then you start thinking about different types of people. Whereas if you just stay in your circle, you only think about the people that are in your circle and the people you see every day. And it's the same with able-bodied people and people who have varying abilities. If we don't have conversations, or if we're not genuinely having conversations with people who are different to us, we're not learning any different. So we're just being the same. So then we definitely fall into that trap of tokenism because we have to tick a box. So I think that's really important. It's also really important to be open to having conversations with people who you're designing for, I guess. And what I mean is, if you decide that you want to increase your size range, or you want to bring out a different product, or you want to whatever, those bodies are different to bodies that you may have been designing for a number of years. And so it's really important that you actually talk to people who have different body shapes and sizes. Even all of us that are on this Zoom will all have different body shapes, and what suits one person is not going to suit another, and the way that you wear a dress is not the way that I'm going to wear a dress. And so all of that kind of kōrero, and I think that's really probably what I'm trying to say, is the power of kōrero, the power of connection, and the power of opening up your space to new people and new ideas enables you to start getting a really good understanding, as opposed to just going, oh, I need to just tick this box for this thing, and then making it so tokenistic.
I am just fully agreeing with everything. I'm just nodding my head so much. I love this. So as a consumer, oh yes, please go on.
What I think is really interesting about that, and also that whole, when we're labeling plus size and all that kind of stuff, I actually think part of the conversation is about us changing the way we view our own bodies as well, which is part of why I started Fat Yoga, because it's actually okay and we are good enough to be wearing plus size, and that's not to take away. I think we need to shift, and that our bodies are different, like you're just saying, but actually owning that rather than trying to fit into something that isn't necessarily going to be for our body. Because you, as a designer and a pattern maker, the way your pattern looks is actually so different to fit a boob and a bum and a tummy in than it is for what I now have started calling from a customer, from a non-plus size body. So I encourage people daily to own who they are and respect their body. It's not even about love, it's just about neutrality, and that you're also so much more than just your body, and to stand tall in who you are and that you are different, and that's actually really fucking cool.
I'm like about to cry. That was beautiful. Thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you, Sarah-Jane. You're a big inspiration for me. You've really changed how I've thought about my own body and journey. You're a big part of that.
So nice.
But so as consumers, what can consumers do? Like, there's like been campaigns where consumers have been pressuring brands to extend their sizes, or should consumers be seeking out more existing plus size designers? Like, what should consumers be doing? Should we be like, hey, we want more cute things? Or do we just be like, we don't want your cute things because you're not going to cater to us. We're going to go to Sarah-Jane. Thank you very much.
I think I'm at that point where, it's like different bodies have been existing for so long, and to kind of feel like I have to fight and make myself be really loud for brands to be like, oh, actually, yes, we will cater to you. Like, that is so exhausting. So I'd rather actually go towards where people are actually already doing that, already being, again, inclusive and already catering to people with my type of body. I don't know, like, it just feels like I'm in that stage where I'm like, it's 2022. There's all of these different kinds of people. Like, if you're not with the program, then I am not going there. And it's that difference between like being tolerated to being celebrated, which is, I think, a lot of that fatness spectrum. It's like you're in that space where like, yes, we tolerate you. Yes, we'll cater to an XL and maybe an XXL if you're lucky.
I completely agree with everything Jess just said. I think also that the most you can really ask for a consumer to do to sort of, drive the movement, I guess, is mindful spending, like choosing where to spend your money. But I feel like the onus needs to be on the people making the clothes, and more specifically the people profiting off of the clothes, rather than, because like we've said, there's already very limited, better than it has been, but still nonetheless limited, fashionable, fun, functional, affordable clothing options for, plus size, non-straight, whatever buzzword we want to use. And
I love
that in mind.
I love non-straight size. Is it non-straight size or
non-plus size?
Non-plus size people?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. You continue.
But I think that there's it's not necessarily, I think, fair to expect, like Jess said, consumers to put not just mindfulness into their spending, but also time and energy into pressuring brands to consider them worthy. I think that the most you can say is, with your money, don't give your money to people who don't consider you important enough to cater to. And then it's on those people to decide that they're willing to expand their worldview, essentially. Yeah.
It's very much that Pretty Woman scenario where she walks back into the shop with all her bags. Like, you work on commission, right? It's like, big mistake. And people maybe think that we don't have money because we like to buy clothes too and spend money and put those money into people's pockets, and would be nice if it was yours. But I think there's kind of two frames that I have. Like, there are some brands that I look at and I just go, my God, I love your clothing. I love your design style. I love the fabric and the colors. I just wish that you would make something to fit me. And so there are those times where I would love to pressure someone to extend their size range, because I absolutely love what they do. And it really isn't about me saying to them, you know, oh, you should do this, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I just love everything about what you're doing. You just don't cater to me. And that really sucks when you're in that situation. At the same time, when you find clothing outlets or designers or stores who do make things for you, then most definitely we need to be championing them. We need to be putting money into their pockets. We need to be helping them create bigger campaigns. And the other thing is, I've come across some designers designers, and I've said to them, I really love what you do, or they've heard me say something around, you don't make clothes for me, and they've said, oh no, but we can make to order, or we can cater to a size. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not showing me that. And that's the key, is that you may not have it available in your everyday collection because maybe you're not getting as many customers as what you need to enable that to be a stock standard part of your collection. But actually, I don't know that you will make something for me if I can't see it. And so if I can't see people who look like me, who have shapes like mine, then there's no way I'm even going to think that I'm worthy to wear your clothes. And that is huge, because what we see makes such a difference. And as we were talking earlier, it's not just about being the token brown girl or the token big girl, but it's, you know, what kind of shapes and how we style people. And it seems like even if we are bigger, the way that you're being styled is to still look as slim as you can in those clothing or in your body. And so it's like, what about wearing this and still having rolls sticking out? Like, we can work with that.
Karina, did you have something to say?
Yeah, no, just that point about how so often the styling of like curve and plus size people, and like, you know, as a model, I've experienced this as well, the focus is on masking your body, or, you know, trying to make you as physically, if not small as possible, then at least covering up areas that people consider to be, you know, undesirable or whatever. And I think that is so stupid. I feel like that is a mentality we need to move away from right now. And I think that, like, for me personally, moving away from that myself has been one of the most kind of liberating experiences of my life, that having that sort of slow, I mean, it doesn't happen overnight, but that gradual self-empowerment and realization that, like, when I pick clothes, I don't have to pick them based on this criteria of, does this trick the human eye into thinking I'm a size 8 or whatever? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not about that. It's about expressing who I am through my clothing, and, you know, feeling like there are elements of my personality that are visible in the way I'm dressed, and yeah, just kind of being myself. And part of myself is this flesh vessel that I inhabit, and I just don't see there being any profit in trying to hide it, you know, and trying to mask certain areas of it, or saying, you know, oh, I can't wear this because you can see my back rolls, or oh, I can't wear this because you can see my cellulite or my side boob or whatever. That's all part of my body, and its body has carried me through an undisclosed number of years of fantastic life, and will hopefully continue to do so. And I respect it for that, and I want to have it out there and not be ashamed of any part of it. And so I think it's really important when we have these kind of like discussions around dressing plus size, mid-size, curve people, that we don't make it about, okay, so you need to hide your stomach, or like, oh no, maybe you want to hide your legs, or you want to, like, you know, put a belt so you can trick people into thinking your waist is smaller or whatever. No, you should wear things because you like the clothing, and then buy it in a size that physically fits your body. Like, that's it. Yeah. Sorry, that's something I feel very strongly about.
I just wanted to just very quickly just add to that, to say there's a difference between showing clothing that is flattering, or, you know, that makes someone feel really good because it highlights and accentuates parts of their body they really love, as opposed to dressing and styling someone to make them look different or to hide something, and therein lies the difference between the intention.
I'm sure you've got something to contribute there. Go.
I guess on that, I just want to come back to that discussion around shopping in stores. Like, I think existing in a fat body, it feels like a privilege to go into a store and have something that you can physically try on. And that's why I love made to order stuff, made to measure, and having that option. But at the same time, sometimes, if you're in a crisis and you just, want to look hot on a date, I want to go into a store and just buy something off the rack. And there's not a lot of options on that. And that goes again with that discussion around the fit and how it looks. Like you've got to try things on. You've got to, see how it fits on your body and how it feels. And I think that's really a very big missed opportunity for a lot of brands that don't cater beyond a size 14 or a 16 XL.
Yeah, how do we feel about brands claiming that they cater to every body and are capitalizing on inclusivity?
I think that, like, to that point, I've noticed in my work and in my life in general that there is quite a difference between brands that are mindfully and deliberately and lovingly designing clothes for larger bodies, and who are just essentially taking the size 8 or 10 or 12 and just multiplying the pattern. So it's like they're physically making the clothes larger, but they're not doing it with any sort of mindful thought towards how different bodies might be shaped and how different clothes fit different bodies. And I feel like I've noticed quite a discernible difference when I'm at fittings or trying clothes on, even just when I'm out shopping with friends. Like, you can definitely tell when the clothes have been sort of mindlessly just like enlarged, essentially, so that they can slap a size inclusivity label on their website and call it a day. You
Absolutely.
can tell.
Totally. I definitely have purchased a number of trousers that are like, whose legs are this long? Whose arms are this long? What is it about plus size? The way that the patterns, they just kind of like, oh, well, if their shoulders are this wide, then their arms must be way over here. How do you feel about that, Sarah-Jane, as a designer?
As a designer, size fit. As a fat person in a fat body, I think in my time it's been exciting, the changes, because when I first started, I was the only person my age working in plus size. And then I met Megan Kerr and stalked her and made her be my friend, because I didn't know anyone else my age working in this area. So, but then I have a New Zealand made brand, so I can pattern make it and stuff, but it also means that it costs money. Like, it's not as inclusive because of the costs, but it means I can get my fits better, because when you're doing offshore, that can actually make it a lot harder, because I worked at Farmers for a year as well, and getting the fits correct as a plus size buyer and getting the fits right there was really hard because of the tools and stuff. I ended up getting my patterns sent down so that I could get my fits better, like pants and like you're talking about the sleeves and stuff. I think it is harder to do plus size, like I just is, but I think when you know and you can do it. I'm probably really rambling now, but I guess I don't want to be negative about people giving things a go, because I think that in an industry when you're not, you're a minority as a designer doing plus size, when you're actually designing for the majority, and I can't design stuff to fit everyone's taste, let alone what they can afford. I do love that people will at least are starting to try and starting the conversation, and there's the shift. But I'd happily talk to them about fit if they ever want to ask questions, because it's pretty bad, a lot of it.
You all heard it here first. Sarah-Jane is available for consultations about fit. I highly recommend any brands out there.
Great idea. You should be, doing that service, because
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea. Let's okay, so anyone, any brands wanting to extend their sizes past 20, past 22?
Yeah,
up to Sarah. I think that's all of our time today. Do we have any last thoughts from our gorgeous panel? Anybody have any last words I'd like to say before we wrap it up?
I think for me, I've got a couple. One of them is that I'm really sick of seeing one size fits all, and then it's like from a size 8 to a size 22, and I'm like,
doesn't.
That's some kind of bullshit if it fits everyone from a size 8 to a size 22. So one size does not fit all. If it tries to fit all, it ain't fitting anybody very well. So let's like just ditch that idea. I think that it would be, for me personally, I would love for there to be more Māori and Pacifica designers who are making bigger clothing. And I know that there are a number out there, and I know that I have championed some of them. And when I look at, so I've just ordered a dress on Layplan, and I'm really excited for that to arrive. And I know that I see Papa Clothing doing some really awesome things, and I know Kitty's doing stuff. And so, you know, there are a number out there who are doing cool things, but I want to see more. And so I'm just really pushing that and laying that whittle down here too, because I want to be able to champion our Māori and Pacifica designers, but I also want to see not just high-end fashion to fit our bodies being made. I want to see everyday wear being made to fit our bodies, because it's nice to be able to buy one or two things that we will wear out for very, amazing occasions, but I just want to wear clothes to school, and I want to wear well-fitting, beautifully made clothing that I can rock every day, and be really proud of who's made it, how it's been made, but also just know that I look and feel good when I'm in it. It's so important, so important.
I love that. Thank you. I love that. I'm obsessed with all of that. Thank you.